Hello and welcome back to Humanities 1. It is Wednesday, March 25th. I hope you are doing well. Let's get right on into it. Okay, so on the front of your packet are your targeted competencies. Please pause the video and take a minute to review them. Wonderful. So you should have paused the video and taken a minute to look at the targeted competencies of learn from the past, express oneself boldly, and lead inquiry. If you have any questions about them, please feel free to contact your teacher or even email me. No problem at all. So today's goal or objective for today is students will be able to decide how and when to use direct quotation when conducting research on a source. Okay, so today we are focusing primarily on direct quotation. We are still on step 5 of the research process, which is taking notes. And on Monday, we talked about paraphrasing, which is putting what the author has written into your own words, which is one way of sharing direct information from a source or taking notes. But in particular, another way of sharing explicit information from a source is using direct quotation. Okay, and so on the front of your packet where it says mini lesson, there are 2 fill in the blanks. And the 2 things that you are going to be filling in are right here in this paragraph. I hope you can see my cursor. Okay, so the first one is the first fill in the blank that you're going to do is this one right here. Direct quotation is when you copy the author's words exactly. So it's going to be your first fill in the blank. A direct quotation is when you copy the author's words exactly as they are. So you know how in paraphrasing, you're kind of taking somebody else's words and rearranging them in order to put them into your own words? You're not doing that for direct quotation. You're taking exactly what the author says and you're using that in your work. And when you do this, which this is your second fill in the blank, when you do this, the words you copy exactly should always be in quotation marks. Always. Always. Not sometimes, not maybe, always should be in quotation marks when you're using somebody else's work, because you always want to give credit to where credit is due. Okay, so please pause the video if you need to take notes. Wonderful. So you should have paused the video and filled in the 2 blanks where necessary on your first page. And now we're going to move on into why we should use direct quotation. So we just talked about what it is. Now we're looking at why. Okay. There are 5 reasons. There's more reasons, but in particular, I felt that these were the 5 important ones that we should be looking at. Okay. So why should you use direct quotation? It provides support for claims or add credibility to your writing. So when you use direct quotations, it helps to build credibility of your writing and support what you're talking about. 2, it helps you to refer to the work that leads up to the work that you were doing. Okay, so using direct quotes, paraphrasing, all of those things are helping you to build up to what your final product is or your final presentation will be. Number 3, it gives examples of several points of view on the topic, right? So if you have 3 to 4 sources, all 4 of those sources will provide for you similar information because it's about the same religion. However, they're going to have different points of view. And so you're sharing that information in your research. 4, it highlights a particularly striking phrase, sentence, or passage by quoting the original, right? So you might be reading something and you're like, wow, this is really, really powerful. And I think that this would benefit my research project when I'm presenting it. And so when you're using a direct quotation, you're able to highlight something that might be really important or striking to you. And lastly, you should use a direct quotation because it expands the breadth or depth of your writing. So it helps you to elaborate on what you're talking about. It shows that you understand your religion. It shows that you are providing enough and a sufficient amount of information about your topic. Okay, so now you should be on page 2 of your packet, and we've looked at what a direct quotation is, why we should use them, and now we're looking at how to integrate a direct quotation into your writing. And there are 3 strategies on how to incorporate a quotation into a sentence. Okay. The first one is using an introductory phrase separated from the quotation with a comma. So if you look here in the example that I have underneath it, I have highlighted. As Rodriguez, the author, argues, comma, quotation, the American conversation about race has always been a black and white conversation. Okay, so there's an introductory phrase, which is right here, as Rodriguez argues, and it's separated from this quote here with a comma. That is the first strategy you can use to incorporate a quotation into your own writing. Number 2, introduce a quotation with a sentence that sets it up by using a colon. So what does that mean? You have an introduction, which will be this sentence right here. Rodriguez uses his own observation of neighborhoods in California to demonstrate that cultural assimilation happens naturally when people live in close proximity. And then it says, you set it up by using a colon, which is right here, the 2 dots, and then you present the direct quotation from the text. Culture is fluid, you breathe it, you eat it, you can't help hearing it, okay? So that's number 2. Third strategy is join the quotation into the flow of your own sentence, okay? So you may not necessarily be separating this by a comma, maybe you are, but you were kind of integrating it into your own sentence. So if you look at the first example, it says Rodriguez thinks the U.S. should adopt the Mexican model of a mestizaje society, which means ... So they mentioned that Rodriguez, the author, thinks about this certain thing and puts it into quotation marks. Same way in the second one, it says when the girl calls herself a Blaxican, Rodriguez argues that by reinventing language, she is reinventing America. So the quote is mixed in with your own words. And of course, you're using quotation marks because you always put quotation marks around the words of the author. Okay, and I'm going to show you how to use one of these strategies. So I have an example here, a direct quote, and it's about Rastafarianism, which is a religion. I also referenced the same religion on Monday. And it says, Rastafari's origins are strongly rooted in Black empowerment movements. Some Rastas are separatists, but many believe in encouraging mutual cooperation among all races. While the vast majority of Rastas are Black, there is no formal injunction against the practice by non-Blacks, and many Rastas welcome a multi-ethnic Rastafari movement. Rastas also strongly favor self-determination based on the fact that both Jamaica and much of Africa were European colonies at the times of the religion's formation. I'm going to pause there and not read the rest of it. So I know that I'm talking about Rastafarianism, and I know that I'm trying to provide information to my classmates about Rastafarianism. I also know that a lot of people assume that Rastafarianism is solely Black people and nobody else can join it. But this direct quote that I highlighted in the paragraph section kind of proves what Rastafarianism really is. And so how would I integrate that into my writing? If you look down here, I wrote my own sentence, and it says, some might say that Rastafarians are exclusively Black people, but according to the organization Learn Religions writer Catherine Bayer, I'm giving credit to where credit is due, she stated that, quotation, there is no formal injunction against the practice by non-Blacks, and many Rastas welcome a multi-ethnic Rastafari movement. So I ended up using which strategy? Not 1, not 2, but I used strategy number 3, which is joining the direct quote with my own sentence. And I also cited where I got the information from to make sure I gave credit to who wrote it. Okay. So now it is your turn. So what I want you to do is to read the quote and pause the video. And I want you to use one of the 3 strategies to incorporate a sentence from this paragraph into your own writing. So again, you're going to pause this video, read the quote, and you're going to use one of the strategies that's in your packet or that I went over, and you're going to pull out a sentence from this quote and try to incorporate it into your own writing. You can pause the video now. Awesome. So you should have read the quote that was given to you, which is a really big paragraph, and you should have taken at least one sentence or two out of this paragraph and incorporated it into your own writing using the 3 strategies. Okay? So for your independent practice or your assessment, you're going to continue to practice this skill of pulling out direct quotes by filling out this graphic organizer, and this is the last page of your packet. And I gave you an example using the Rastafarian paragraph for my model. So I gave the source, where I got it from, the title, the author. I pull out the direct quote, so this is exact copy from the website that I used. And then in the third column, I answered the question, what parts of this would you use as a direct quote and why? So I said I would use this quote, while the vast majority of rosters are Black, ... I would use this because it provides context to who does and can participate in the religion. It will also confirm or deny any preconceived notions people may have about Rastafarianism. Okay, so you're doing the same thing with your sources that you have for your religion. Okay, and that example is also in your packet. So if you have any questions, you are always more than welcome to email me or email your teachers, or if you have our numbers, you can contact us as well. And that way, I will be posting videos Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. And we have live sessions on Thursday, so make sure you are up and ready by 9:30 to participate in live sessions with your teachers for your classes. The schedule is right here for you if you need it. And lastly, on our next video, we'll be continuing to talk about direct quotes and citations. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this video. Take your time. I hope you all are taking care of yourselves while we are home. And I look forward to seeing you all really, really soon. Again, email me if you have any questions, comments, or concerns. Talk to you soon. Bye.